because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong. We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated. Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country. Our country. Our country has been under siege for a long time. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
And we begin on January 2nd, 2021. We now know today definitively that on January 2nd, 4 days before the 6th, that Trump's Department of Defense and one of his officials from the Trump administration, in fact, reached out to the Capitol Police Department asking the deputy chief if they were planning on calling up the National Guard to help protect the Capitol ahead of the massive rally that was planned on January 6th. Now, the next day, on January 3rd, after consulting with the Capitol Police Chief, Deputy Chief Sean Gallagher told the Department of Defense that a request for National Guard was not forthcoming. However, shortly thereafter, they got new and darker security assessments that were issued to the House and Senate sergeants at arms, and they discovered that, in fact, radical groups were planning violence. Now, according to the assessment, it said, quote, due to the tense political environment following the 2020 election, the threat of disruptive actions or violence cannot be ruled out. Then it continued, quote, the sense of desperation and disappointment may lead to more of an incentive to become violent. Now, 1 day later, then on January 4th, the Capitol Police Chief, Steve Sund, he rightly, based on the new intelligence, changed his mind and began the process of now seeking permission from the office of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to, in fact, deploy the National Guard using that intelligence. Now, the House and the Senate Sergeant at Arms, they denied this request. Why weren't they called before this hearing? Anyway, still President Trump and top DOD officials, they forged ahead with plans to make a massive amount of National Guard troops available. Now, you might remember the previous summer, this is coming off the summer of 574 official riots in this country, where dozens of Americans were killed, where thousands of police were injured, where there was billions of dollars in property damage. So they rightly wanted to prepare. Then on January 4th, a meeting took place in the Oval Office. It featured President Trump, his Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, Acting Defense Secretary Chris Miller, the Department of Defense Chief of Staff, Kash Patel, who will also join us tonight, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley. President Trump, in that meeting, requested that up to 20,000 National Guard troops be made available for security at the Capitol for January 6th, as the law requires him to authorize. Now, the Washington Post, they lied and claimed that we must have made this up. They gave out 4 Pinocchios, and as per usual, the Washington Post is either dishonest or lazy or both. They didn't talk to the people that were actually in the meeting. We did on this program. 4 of the officials, 4 out of the 5 present in the Oval Office, have on this program corroborated our reporting. Take a look for yourself. Did you authorize calling up the Guard? And then it became, the chain of command went to Nancy Pelosi and to the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser. Did you, as required by law, authorize that?
100%, and attested to by many people, and they turned it down. Nancy Pelosi turned it down.
Mayor Bowser's written refusal, the communications between the leader of the Capitol Police and their chain of command to the DOD refusing our request to allow National Guardsmen and women to stage on January 4 and 5 before January 6.
Did you both ask for the National Guard to be called up?
Without a doubt, Sean, we've made that very clear, not just once, but on numerous occasions. We wanted to make sure that there was plenty of National Guard on the ready in case there was some kind of violence.
I had a meeting with President Trump on the 3rd of January concerning some international threats, and at the very end, he asked if there were any requests for National Guard support.
What was the president's response to you with regard to the request made by Mayor Bowser?
Fill it and do whatever was necessary to protect the demonstrators.
Now, in addition to what you just heard, there was one other person in the room, and that is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Milley. Now, this week, people close to him have confirmed directly to me that the general absolutely recalls conversations with President Trump about security prior to January 6th. Now, we're more than an hour into what the Capitol show tonight, this so-called hearing. Apparently, there's going to be, planned hearings in perpetuity by the sounds of it. And this critical information, this critical meeting has not been mentioned one time. Not one time. Why? Because it doesn't fit, sadly, their predetermined political outcome, which we all know is to smear, once again, Donald Trump. It's kind of hard to say to somebody that somebody wanted a riot and instigated a riot when that same person authorized up to 20,000 troops to protect that very Capitol where the so-called riot is going to take place. Now, keep in mind, according to defense experts, the Capitol would not have been breached with thousands of National Guard soldiers providing the security. Let me say it another way. Had they actually listened to President Trump, had they listened to the experts at the Department of Defense, January 6th never would have happened. They didn't listen. They were deaf. They cared not to protect the Capitol. They knew they had 574 riots the summer before. They knew tensions in the country were high, and they didn't do their duty. They were begged repeatedly to take the Guard, and they wouldn't do it.